Welcome to the next Tao in a Minute. I want to do another very practical exercise, but first let me preface it. A question came in from someone in Australia who wanted to understand a little bit more of what is not two. Why not just say the one? Because the one is still a thing. What is not two is a very Asian, very Chinese way of addressing something so that you do not think of a thing. Okay, let me get more specific on this. When we look in the Western traditions, everybody comes to God being the one, and that's great, that's fine. But God is still a thing, God is still a person, God is still an idea. When you come to understanding the Tao, you're going beyond the idea of anything differentiated. There is no things. There is everything but nothing at the same time. There's the paradox. So when we say nothing in the West, we think vacuum, but nature abhors a vacuum. There is no nothing. Okay? So when we look at nothing in a Daoist way of talking, we're talking about what is not two. In the Kabbalic tradition, we call this Ein Sof. Okay? It is the zero, it is the nothingness. But it's everything unbroken up. No altar, no door, no air, no what, everything there, but it's all undifferentiated. It's all indistinguishable, therefore there is nothing. And yet everything at the same time. It goes beyond paradox because there is no irreconcilable differences for duality in the not two. Buddhists use koans like, what is the sound of one hand clapping? What is Dogha, Buddha, nature? But Taoists just simply say, what is not two? So, when you're practicing certain things, some people say, I can't do So Wong very well because it's really hard for me. Of course it's hard for you. So Wong cannot be taught. It has to be transmitted. Unfortunately, people read a book and they go, I get it, and you may have it intellectually. But just like the Buddhists say, the closer you are to it, the farther away you are. The more you turn to it, the more you're turning away from it. Because you can't intellectually consider it and still be considered Zoong. Because Zoong is the antithesis of intellectual consideration. It is the direct experience. It is going away from subject and object and even observer. It's going beyond the observer to observing, right? Quantum mechanics says waves are waves until somebody looks at it, or something looks at it, something measures it, and there's an observer, and it becomes a thing. If you want to go beyond things, you're going to have to go beyond the observer to just observing. And then the question inevitably comes, well then who's observing? Right, that's what you're going to experience when you experience these things. But some people just can't do that. Just go, okay, a good teacher, whether it's a yogi or a roshi or even a Dao shuffle, they can induce you. It has to be induced first, because if you don't know the direction you're going, if you don't know what you've ever felt before, then in fact, you can never actually experience it for yourself, because you wouldn't know what to experience. You wouldn't know. And maybe you experience, but you don't have language for it, therefore, it'll be like it never happened. So the shuffle or the teacher or the roshi of any sort, they'll be the one to actually induce it. But you can do something as simple as this. Light a candle, look at the brightest part of the candle, light the incense and put the incense between you and the candle so the smoke comes up in your vision. You're staring at the brightest part of the candle and look at until the smoke and the candle become not two. Till there is no more smoke, there is no more candle. Till you see the smoke and its shadow, the candle and its shadow, and all of it is not two. And simply recite, not two, not two. Or just simply breathe. Either way, if you need to add the verbalization, if you don't need to add it, don't worry about that. Another way you can do it, this is very Zen, growing up with a master who sent me to many teachers to learn. One way you can also do it is, you can do the bowing or prostrations 108 times or 81 times. Some people say that's not very Taoist. It's all Tao. But the reason why you do that is you need to put yourself into a state where you go beyond thinking, beyond observing, beyond sensing. You must go beyond these things to experience the nothingness of the everythingness, of the everythingness of the nothingness. And so you simply over and over and over again. But I recommend the candle. I recommend the candle for 2 reasons. It plays a huge role in regulating hormones. It plays a huge role in regulating sleep and the pineal function. And it also really starts to work with the imagination. And when the imagination happens, different dimensions of reality, different perspectives of reality. I'm not talking about aliens and far out there. I'm talking about inside of yourself. That's all there is inside of yourself. And when you practice these things, what will happen is eventually you'll get to go beyond that and have that sense of no self, no object, no subject, simply being. And this there is what gives you the peace so many people come to these paths for, whether it's for being monastic or just to incorporate them into your life for inner peace. Okay? If you have any questions, if there's anything that wasn't clear, please put like, hit comment, share with somebody if they think they'll be able to use it. You can email me at lau@fourdragonschool.com. Until then, I'll see you next time on Dao in a Minute.